Jocelyn DeVoe says, I'm starting drone FPV. I'm building my first drone, but I watch FPV contents on YouTube. Since a while, I see less and less contents on YouTube about FPV. Why? Jocelyn, I have a theory about that. And my theory is that a lot of people are moving from YouTube to, TikTok is the most prominent, but also maybe Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, that the flight content specifically has moved off of YouTube. Most people today don't want to sit down and watch a 2 or 3 minute edit of an FPV freestyle flight. Most people aren't going to do that. But people are, like, including, I speak for myself. I'm not that interested in watching long freestyle edits, and I just don't see them on my YouTube algorithm very much. I suspect that people aren't posting them because of that reason. There's a feedback loop there. But if I'm scrolling through, like, TikTok, and I see an FPV, and it's like a 30 or 45 second, and it's like one good line or one good trick, then I'm like, oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah. And then I'm on to the next one. And I feel like specifically freestyle flight content is more suitable to stuff like TikTok, etc., that has that 60-second or less attention span. Then as far as product reviews and so forth, I'm not sure. There's still people out there who I see, like Mads Tech still makes content. Chris Rosser's making content. I don't know if there's just, it's always hard to tell whether it's just your algorithm that's been sort of corrupted and maybe you need to actually search out the content. I don't know. I certainly, there are people who say, FPV is dying. I don't know if, I think that's a little harder to judge, but, whatever, I'll be here.
I think maybe you mentioned this, but when it was newer and freestyle was new, there's more people that care to watch that because it's not something that's been there. But I think the longer the hobby goes on and the longer we've been able to do the fastest, craziest freestyle we want, or the smoothest, flowest freestyle we want, the camera jitter was gone, right? Like all the things that used to be there. Right, I think we've kind of just extended the road out. Now it's sort of stretched, and like, what's next, I think, is where people's heads are at. Not like, let's watch 80 more freestyle videos because it's cool and new, right?
Yeah, I certainly, my willingness to watch freestyle and other types of FPV content is down because I only want to see like the top 3%. Everybody else, like if and this is a part of the reason why I don't post more often in terms of flight stuff. And I know when I do post flight stuff, people are excited and they're happy to see it, and it usually gets good views. When I watch freestyle stuff, most of the time I watch freestyle stuff and go, okay. Like if you're a 7 out of 10 in terms of your freestyle skill, then you're better than a lot of people. You're like a good pilot. But I still am not interested in watching you because, like, I'm not that interested unless, like, I know you or something. Because, like, I want to see the 10 out of 10 and the 11 out of 10s doing things that absolutely blow my mind, right? But, whereas if you go back to, like, 2017, everything was new and exciting. Sharpoo flew under a car and people were like, I didn't even know you could do that. It was so easy to do new things back in the beginning when no one had done anything. Now everyone's done everything and it's like really hard to stand out. Yeah.
I have a little crazy take.
Yeah.
This is my take. I said this the other day in chat. I think that the next big revolution will be when you can put AR into the goggles from the live goggle view and do things in AR while you're flying in the real world. Right? There's physical obstacles present that are only in your goggles, right? There's things to fly through and rings that are your goals. There's like ways to do artistic expression through making a track or making a thing, having that synced up with a set of music or something, and then doing an artistic expression with that. That's more than just the freestyle. Just like people are doing AI videos, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think it'll be sort of an extension of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen one example of that, the Epson Moviero goggles. And I only know this because they reached out to me years ago and asked me if I wanted to review the goggles. And they had a thing where when paired with a DJI drone, they would do augmented reality, and you could fly through gates, basically. And the only reason they were able to do that was because the DJI drone had sufficiently accurate location sensing that they could, because obviously if you're going to do augmented reality, then you have to know where the camera is in space and where the camera is pointing so that you can draw the obstacles. And most of the time that requires external sensors and a closed space, which obviously doesn't work if you're flying FPV outside. And it doesn't work with FPV drones that typically don't have position and direction sensing. So to me, that'd be the big the big sort of hurdle that you got to go over to do augmented reality, is you have to know the drone's position and orientation in space. And I don't know how you're going to solve that in like an outdoor environment.
Yeah, it depends on what you actually need, right? Because you can do physical modeling with the picture of the camera live if you have like a Jetson or something on the quad, right? So like that's where I'm thinking of, is more like, you mean sort of like that. The AI racing stuff is working, but you have pre-planned stuff, so you know the track ahead of time, and then it knows how to map the you know, I don't know, maybe with a combination of sensors, camera being included, but I'm not saying in a year or two, but I'm saying down the line, like that seems like it's going to happen, right?
You're saying that they like do a 3D LiDAR scan of the site, and they do optical overlay of the LiDAR scan, and then
I feel like in 5 to 10 years, you'll literally just have like a $100 LiDAR thing you set on a table, and it just LiDAR scans the area. Right?
What you're saying is that they know by looking at the camera feed where the drone is. They don't need to actually have like GPS position sensing. They can just look at the camera feed and go, okay, there should be a gate here.
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible now, but I mean, 10 years is a long way away in the technology side of things. So.
Yeah, that's plausible. I can see that coming. I can see that coming.
I just think like something like a Guitar Hero or like, you know, different things you could do that aren't just like flying a quad, right?
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, right?
Right.
Like in the same way that in Tony Hawk you could do tricks off of obstacles, and you could string together tricks, and you know you could imagine, you know, creating a route that you have to do and do certain tricks or whatever. You could set that up. Yeah. Or SSX. Remember that game? I don't know if you ever played. Did you ever play SSX Tricky?
Yep.
Yeah. That game was that was actually an incredible game. It was a snowboarding game, and you would snowboard down the mountain. I don't want sound though. You would snowboard down the mountain and do trick. Wait, this is PS2. This is not the one I played. But they would set up these targets for you, and you would hit the targets, and you would do tricks as you went down the mountain. Does this? Excuse me, I'm sneezing today. I don't know why. That doesn't seem like the game I remember playing. Maybe I have
1080 snowboarding is the one that comes to mind when you say SSX.
Maybe it was SSX3, not SSX Tricky. Mine was on the Xbox. Maybe it was a later SSX game. Oh yeah, this is more like it. Oh, it wasn't Tricky. Anyway, you could imagine doing something like that with freestyle drones, where you have like targets that they need to hit, and they can hit tricks and so forth. Yeah.
I mean, this will be my last thing, but this is something I've been asking for in Sims for a while. I bring it up every few months or however long, whenever we talk about Sims, but like, that's the first place to do this, right? Like, why don't you have like some kind of synced music experience like Guitar Hero that you're playing in the Sim, or like, why don't you have like like hidden collectibles or like tricks that you have to do in certain sections, and like, there's a lot of things you can do in a Sim, I think, that don't get done, right?
Liftoff has those pumpkins that appear around Halloween that you can collect the pumpkins.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Sims are really focused on creating an accurate experience and less so on the gamification. I will say, though, like Liftoff on Xbox really leaned into the gamification, and people hated it because it wasn't a traditional sim. Well, I don't know if they hated it, but there was a lot of people expecting it to be a sim and then were very upset that that it wasn't.
I think you can be both, right? You get the physics right, and then you have the normal modes, and then you also have, like, if you want to go do all these things, you can, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.